AI will take our jobs. Now, most people hear that and they get scared. Like, oh no, what am I going to do? But honestly, I hear that and I kind of get excited. I mean, don't get me wrong. It will be pretty horrible and sad if AI were to just completely push me out of my profession. But there's also a lot of opportunities that it will open up, even in my sector as an engineer, but for other people's sectors, whether you're in HR, farming, construction, real estate. So I kind of want to explore that a little bit is the opportunities that AI is creating in the for businesses, right? And even for individuals. So when people say like, "Hey, AI is going to come in and take our job," I just don't think that's fully true. Um, I mean, take my experiences. I think that AI, what it's able to do really well is very simple tasks, right? Simple tasks that have a defined set of rules. And as long as there's like some, I don't know, subset of examples, like maybe like let's say you need to write an email. Well, as long as I'm sure that you have written like 500 or 1,000 emails, the AI is able to learn from those examples and then generate that for you. So what we're able to see is AI has this ability to take those low paying tasks, tasks that, annoying tasks like reading and responding to emails on your inbox, or let's say you have to schedule a meeting with all of these people. These sort of low level common denominator tasks are very easily handled by AI. And what that means is if AI is saving you time on these like very like um, simple tasks, what it does is it frees you up and in extension the business for you to be more productive and work on higher, more challenging level tasks. Now, one thing I want to connect back to is why I don't think AI can fully take our jobs. At least not in the next 5 or 10 years. The what I even in my job as a software engineer, the company I work for has Copilot as well as Claude, and while both of these tools are able to write code that gets the task done, right? Say you have a task like, oh, we need to add a feature that allows people to send emails. Okay. Well, that's a very simple take an email in, take in the message, and then you need to write a function that's going to actually do the sending, right? Maybe you use MailChimp's API and you just do an API call. And for the most part, what Claude and GitHub are able to do, or Copilot, they're able to generate the code that will do the task you asked it. Like it will pull these values and then send it. But what it misses is some of the higher level concepts. For example, maybe your company has a way of dealing with very like sensitive information. And email is kind of like 50-50. I It may count as PII. And so your company may have a certain protocol or certain services that it runs or that it has to pass through in order to get the email. Well, your API is not going to know how to do that, right? That's an example of like a higher level, in this case, a security abstraction that the code was not able to see. Now, as we speak, there are ways to inject some of this into the code. That's why we're starting to see multi-step agents. So for example, You give it the prompt, hey, I need to write this email task feature. And the agent, sort of behind the scenes, the LLM is actually going to ask itself multiple questions. Like, hey, so first it might generate the code, right? The code that you see. Then in the second step, it's going to ask, hey, are there any security concerns that I have to be aware of? And it'll say, like, oh, well, maybe there's a PII, and it'll run with that in a separate kind of like thread in the workflow, and then come back and inject that, like, hey, update the code to make sure you take into account this PII. And just like that, uh, it's able to now, oh, okay, here's a concern that I need to be aware of. It goes on its thread and it asks itself the question. This is commonly referred to, at least like in Gemini, they call it thinking, right? Which I don't know how, I mean, maybe it's thinking. I guess like when I think about an idea, it's kind of the same process, right? Like, hey, I need to make this, I need to make pasta. And I think about, okay, well, pasta is just you boil the thing, and then you throw in some pasta sauce. But a higher level abstraction might be, oh shoot, do I even have the ingredients? Should I add salt? I love how that thumbs up came in, right? Do I have, maybe the pot is slightly sensitive to heat, and so it would overflow. So all of these things are like, hey, these are questions that kind of pop up and connect together as thinking. Um, and so that sort of level of higher abstraction, I think the LLMs today are trying to incorporate that. However, it is obviously it's harder. Not only is it harder, it takes more time, right? Because it's going to ask a question, it's going to generate a response, and it's going to ask itself another question, generate a response. And this back and forth takes multiple times, which is why you see more of this thinking process in the pro versions of these models, with the downside being, well, it takes 40 seconds sometimes for a simple prompt. I saw a post the other day actually on LinkedIn where someone was saying, hey, what is 8.08 minus 8.1? And in the Flash version, it wasn't able to understand the math of like the decimal number. And so in 3 seconds, it gave you a wrong answer. But with all of the confidence that, yes, this is right. And you actually have to sit down and think, like, wait a second, something ain't right. However, when you take that same question and you prompt it with the pro version of ChatGPT, what he was able to find is the LLM was able to find the correct answer, but it took it 45 seconds. And now you're sitting here and I'm like, bro, I could have typed that in on a calculator and that would take me 10 seconds, maybe, right? I mean, depending on if the Face ID worked, right? You gotta gotta unlock the phone and, or bad joke. Uh, so where we kind of end up in today is there's like what we've kind of solidified is that AI still struggles with the higher level abstract ideas. Not only that, sometimes when it does deliver an answer, it fails to understand some of these nuances. I actually even had probably a couple days ago a teammate of mine used Claude in order to generate. It's like a somewhat simple feature. We were adding an API endpoint in order to fetch all users from some service through GraphQL. And what ended up happening is that when they ran it, okay, great. It actually did generate all like the resolver, the service, everything, right? And it worked right off the bat with the unit tests and everything. Um, However, when I was actually reading the code line by line, I realized it actually was doing an n+1 query. So for those of you who aren't very tech savvy, it was getting I guess you could say, imagine I'm asking for a dozen eggs, and then you go and you go to the store and you buy one egg at a time. So you go back and forth like 12 times for a dozen eggs. So while that is technically right, like, yes, I did eventually get a dozen eggs, that makes no sense, right? That's a clear performance issue. Well, the code actually generated that exact scenario. It was doing individual requests when instead it should have just been like, okay, make a single request and just buy like a dozen eggs and come back in one trip. So that was kind of like a failure that I saw with Claude AI. So again, the main thing here, I mean, now we're circling back to the top, that yes, AI is really good at solving the problem, even though sometimes it may miss. But it is just prediction, right? We have to understand that it's going to solve the problem based on what is the most common way that it has seen the problem solved. And what it'll miss is these nuances, these sort of high level abstract ideas that are going to sort of not exactly confine it, but these high level ideas that will, that I guess still need a human to come in and resolve. And don't get me wrong, like there are AIs that will, like, hey, once you point out that issue, oh yeah, the Claude or Copilot, oh yeah, that's a great point. Let me go ahead and fix it for you. And then just like a junior dev, it's going to go in and fix it and then it comes back, right? Um, but at a senior level, uh, I think that sort of expertise in whatever, I'm using coding as an example, but in whatever industry you're in, that level of expertise to understand all of these nuances and trade-offs on the first go, that is kind of what companies will still hire for. So yeah, AI, sure, it may take some of our jobs, but it definitely won't take all of them. So just be at ease. Do learn about AI. Do learn about it. Don't get complacent. However, don't expect AI to completely write you out of your job. There's still hope.